We are rolling.
Something.
We are rolling, guys. We are live streaming. And yes, Zoom, I got it. You don't have to keep reminding me. Hi, everyone. How are you? It's Uncle Vigilante, Uncle V. And sorry, I've been kind of MIA. I've been dealing with this Hurricane Ian. What a monster. I mean, it was absolutely a monster. I live in Tampa, Florida. We thought that was going to be the direct hit. And then it slowly started pivoting to the right. And our poor neighbors down south, Fort Myers, Naples, that whole area, boy, oh boy, my heart goes out to them because they just got absolutely demolished. And then the nature of this monster storm was it just slowly went inland and went kind of to the northeast and dumped all the rain that it had collected on Orlando. So Orlando was very flooded. And now it's heading to the other side of the state to where St. Augustine, which is our oldest city and our most historical city, 90% of residents live in a flood zone there. Well, 90% of them are under 15 feet of water. So I just saw the news, and literally this beautiful city, St. Augustine. You walk down, think about a beautiful New Orleans, not the smell of urine and everything, but if it was a clean city there on Bourbon Street, that's St. Augustine. And it breaks my heart that, the water is literally almost to the second level of some of these buildings. So now it'll go out to sea, gather some hot water, and then it's going to go smash into probably Myrtle Beach up there and then go through the Carolinas. This is a serious storm. So if you are in the path, just because it destroyed Florida doesn't mean that you're out of the woods. Why? Because the winds are still going to be there. The flooding is going to be there, and down power lines are going to happen. And those are ultimately what kill a lot of people, are those down power lines. So public service announcement. Thank you all in the community who reached out to me. We have the best community in all of crypto, I believe. I really mean that. I mean, we're small enough to where everybody kind of knows each other. And so I don't come to the table today with a lot of topics in mind, which is why I titled this Hurricane Wing It, because we're going to wing it. I have Elle McMurphy and Max Freeman on the line. Hello, there's Elle McMurphy, Enrique.
Hey.
Rumor has it you like unconfiscatable private property. Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Max.
Who doesn't?
Max, rumor has it you created unconfiscatable private property, right?
I success has many fathers.
Yes.
Yes, guilty as charged.
Yes, it does. Well, you know what, guys, I think I'd like to take this a little different direction just at the beginning, because my feelings are kind of hurt, and I'll tell you why. Was on the phone with Gene. I'm sorry, Yoga Dude, and Yoga had let me know that he was engaging with a gentleman on Twitter, and who is a Monero guy, an XMR guy, and he's became very interested in talking about Epic, and he just asked the simple question, hey, where would I go for some I've been in XMR a long time, but I like privacy coins. Where would I go to just get some, 101 type information? And Yoga said, oh man, dude, can we serve that up to you? There's this guy, Uncle Vigilante. He has about 500 hours worth of everything that you would want to know about Epic Cash. And Joey immediately knew who I was and is turned off by me. he, for whatever reason, doesn't like me because he thinks I don't like Monero or XMR. Joey, I want to extend an olive branch to you. I have nothing against XMR, Monero, that community. The only thing that I have ever done was defended myself and Epic Cash from the onslaught that I have received from the beginning, from specifically the crypto vigilante and that tribe. And when they come out and they make statements like, remember that Mimblewimble is nowhere near as fungible as Epic as Monero. I went ahead and I got the tech people who would know the difference to come on my show. That's what I do. People put challenges in front of me instead of just, saying, oh, you're right, or nah, you don't have to listen to me, I'm right. I'll get experts on, like Max Freeman, like Todd Lewis, our chief engineer. And so I invite you, if you end up suffering through some of my videos, please know that I hope you give me a mulligan, because I really have tried to put a lot of positive information out there. And if you indeed are interested in unconfiscatable private property and all of the reasons why I think that us privacy coins should get along, there are aspects of certain assets, though, to where there are differences, and there are real differences between Epic Cash and Monero. And Max, I don't know if maybe we can talk about some of those today, but I think you said, I think you said before the show that 99% of the DNA of XMR is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely north of 90%.
Yeah. So unlike what you might think, this is not a Monero bashing hour, but I want to be able to talk about the attributes of Monero, the attributes of Epic Cash, and then you, Joey, you determine whether or not, it's worthy of more research. But I tend to like to do my own thinking, because when I farmed out my thinking to others, that's when I got into trouble with crypto, by following what everybody else was saying. So specifically the crypto vigilante, when other people are telling you what coins to invest in, I have just been through a couple of pump and dumps to where I finally said, nope, yet enough. I got to figure out what are the right questions to ask so that I can invest my hard-earned money into these crypto assets. So that's how my journey started a couple of years ago. And then we kind of went like this with TCV, but it doesn't mean I don't love you, and it doesn't mean I don't love XMR. Okay, Max.
And also I should mention that many people who are known as Monero people, unquote, are part of our camp as well, and are making great contributions. I personally went to MoneroCon in Denver in 2019. I went to Monero Village at DEF CON in 2019. I maintain relationships with people not just from Monero, but also the forks of Monero, such as WowNero and other privacy cryptos. And so when we critically evaluate the technological choices of different networks, we're not saying those are bad. I'm not saying those are bad. We're merely pointing out the facts of the matter. And it's important to understand that the design of how we're structured is heavily influenced by Monero, because they got almost everything right. I mean, for 2014 what's happened in the years since then, man, there's so much good stuff there. So we're looking for ways of how to connect Epic and Monero in terms of trading, so that people who value privacy and fungibility can trade with each other without resorting to trust and centralization. Monero uses a different type of elliptic curve as Epic. They use ED 25519, and we use SEC P256K1, which makes the connecting them a little bit tricky. But it's not just tricky for us. Thorchain has been working on integrating Monero for quite some time and isn't there yet. So I think XMR is probably the #1 pair on Edex, if I had to guess. And I've personally been working on how to connect those two for years and can't wait until we get there.
What is Edex for those who may not know?
Yeah, so Edex is our vision for a platform where users can trade on a peer-to-peer basis with each other using non-custodial, privacy-preserving, trust-minimized, borderless services. So, for example, Edex Atomics enables people to swap from chain to chain. The first ones that will go live are BTC and LTC. When you have the Epic blockchain interact with the BTC or LTC blockchain, essentially it's a multi-stage process where the transaction either completes and both sides get their coins, or it unwinds and nobody loses anything. So it's a completely risk-free way for people to trade by using multi-signatures to have the blockchains exchange value with each other in a trustless way. So that's pretty interesting. That's Edex Atomics. Then also Edex Order Book. We're familiar with Vite and the Vitex experience. There you can trade against BTC, Ether, USDT, and Vite. In our case, the base pairs will be different. Obviously, E1, EUSD, EMPL, and EON. Then also Edex Swap. A lot of people prefer a Uniswap or Sushi Swap style, one click, one button, easy experience. So Edex Swap builds on those prior mentioned capabilities to make that easy for users. And then the final thing is local. We need a peer-to-peer solution. So Edex Local will enable a seller in Addis Ababa to say, hey, I'm willing to sell you Epic. I can give you up to $100 worth of coins. Here's my price. And this is the currencies and payment methods that I take. And then they go meet in person or whatever their local methods are. Essentially, that's like a local Bitcoins or a Paxful type of experience. So the common threads of the Edex vision are that it's non-custodial. Users remain in control of their keys at all times. They never have to trust any third party. If they're transferring value between one blockchain to another, there is zero possibility for failure or loss of funds. There's no fractional reserve nonsense because everything is on chain and provable. Borderless because people will be able to access these things wherever they are. It doesn't matter if you're behind a great firewall of whatever, just the tech wants to be free and we make that happen. And permissionless. Anybody can trade anything with anyone, however they want. And so that's our vision for Edex.
Let me ask you this, just because in this gentleman Joey's engagement with Yoga, he was talking about some of the downfalls of Epic Cash as he sees it, is that it is not used on the dark net and its adoption thus is minuscule. Can you speak to those two?
Yeah, so one man's bug is another man's feature. I'm tickled pink that darknet people prefer to use other assets, because as much as I believe in people's ability to do commerce freely, and people know where I stand in terms of my political views on liberty and so forth, the fact of the matter is not everybody agrees with us. And imagine the bad press we would get if our brand was mentioned alongside unsavory activities. Oh, man dies of fentanyl overdose paid for with Epic Cash. Like, we don't need that kind of publicity. So that segment of the market, I think, is best served by other networks. And I'm glad that Monero has become the dark web money of choice, because we are money that happens to be private, not privacy as an identity. And so these are very, very, very thorny issues, and optics are important.
Let's talk about that. Let me play angel's advocate here. We are not a privacy coin, but we happen to be a coin whose transactions are private. Now, I'm saying the same thing, right? Sort of, kind of, maybe, but differently. But because of the technology that we chose, which is Mimblewimble, that then creates Epic Cash to be private by default. So when the Druid Babylonian bastards, the controllers, those who control the banking system, can they put us into a bucket? Like right now, obviously, I believe I think the number is $750,000, or there's some kind of bounty on XMR that if somebody can go break the code, that they'll get that money. So Monero's already a known entity for having its brand be we're private. So I'm just curious if, just because our transactions happen to be private, how do we raise our hand and say, but wait, if we didn't have Mimblewimble, we wouldn't be able to scale. That's the beauty of Mimblewimble and CoinJoin. So speak to that, because I think we aggressively need to be defensive, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so a lot of overlapping issues and a lot of challenging nuance here. So in no particular order, you said that there was a bounty, and it's not 750K. I think it was 1.25 million last I checked, and it's not to crack the code. What it is Monero is a shell game. Your transaction is mixed with 11 others currently. They're raising that to 16. And so what those guys are offering is a bounty for an analytics software that helps you to identify, okay, we can't know for sure because it's mixed within these 11 other transactions. But if we analyze the data in this way, because remember, Monero stores all that data on the chain permanently in a way that Epic doesn't, there's the data there for machine learning to go by. You can say, okay, well, there's a 92.7% chance that this guy over here was who did that. Now, it doesn't need to be perfect. Like good 90% is good enough. So you go and focus your efforts there. We're going to go find that guy this way. So the bounties that are offered are for that type of analysis, not to quote crack the code, and that's an important distinction. But in our case, the way that Epic achieves privacy is different than other networks, and privacy is not black and white. It's very nuanced. Private from whom, under what assumptions, what private from whom, under what assumptions and circumstances, and subject to what effort to figure out who did what. So for example, if I just want to pay the baker for a loaf of bread and not have him spy into my wallet, that's enough privacy for my use case. If we want to enable Canadian truckers to exercise their rights, to peaceably assemble, then that's a sufficient level of privacy. If someone, wants to trade nuclear secrets, then maybe they want to go with zero knowledge proofs or something like that. So privacy is not black or white. It gets really messy, but it's not a technical thing so much as it is like an emotional thing, because a lot of people feel very strongly that we should not have access to privacy. Jerome Powell just came out on Twitter yesterday and said, hey, guess what? Sorry to break it to you, but CBDC is not going to be anonymous, which nobody should have expected anyway. No. Yeah, so Epic needs to be fungible, because otherwise it would enable off-chain political forces to retaliate against innocent users who did nothing wrong, like in the case of Canada, or in the case of Maker and Circle. Essentially, if you break down the Ethereum merge, Circle has the power to determine which fork wins, and that's not exactly how a decentralized system is supposed to work. So if you don't have confidentiality at the base layer, then you don't have fungibility for the currency unit. If you don't have fungibility, then you introduce all kinds of other problems and potential points of friction. So we chose Mimblewimble primarily for its scalability benefits and for the fungibility that it gives the currency. And as we always say, one man's feature is another man's bug. We're actually working on reducing the fear factor in a variety of ways with solutions such as E1, because many institutions are completely averse to having any kind of confidentiality protocols. I think it was Upbit, the Korean ones, Upbit, the name escapes me at the moment, but essentially when Litecoin added the Mimblewimble extension block, there were all kinds of delistings because they said any asset that has transactional privacy, we can't have that. And so Epic would simply never be on those platforms. If you want to sell toothpaste to Walmart customers, you have to get past the purchasing agent in Bentonville, Arkansas, or else your brand doesn't go on the shelf next to the other guys. And so the way to solve that is Johnny and co have been working hard on building the EXBR, the Epic cross-chain bridge that enables you to wrap your Epic into an E1 token as an ERC20 that rides around on Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Moonriver, Solana, Tron. There's a whole bunch of them that will eventually be covered. So if confidentiality is not a good thing for your use case, then you can opt into surveillance by wrapping your Epic into a token. But at any time, break glass in case of emergency. You can unwrap that E1 and convert it into Epic. Do whatever you want with it, and then you are good to go. So we have different possibilities than other chains do because of our flexible, modular, composable approach.
Right. So is it fair to say that the developers of Monero, if they would have had access to 2019 tech, that they too would have incorporated Mimblewimble? I mean, Todd Lewis certainly seems to think that Mimblewimble is just the simplest, best technology in crypto.
I don't know what they necessarily would have wanted to optimize for, but let's talk about what different go forward scenarios look like based on Mimblewimble versus CryptoNote, which is the method that Monero uses. So the BTC blockchain is about 420 gigs, and that's off of transaction volume that caps out at about 350,000 a day. And it can process blocks every 10 minutes in a 1 megabyte block. So you have a 420 gig data footprint to represent that transaction activity, and it can only grow. The data needs to store will be higher in the future. That's just, it's a one-way linear progression. In the case of CryptoNote, if Monero had the same level of transactional usage as BTC, the chain file would not be 400 gigs. It would be multiple terabytes.
Wow. Okay.
So what happened? But what does that mean? So what does that mean when a node is multiple terabytes? It means you're not running a node on your low-end mobile device. You're not embedding that into your bracelet so that you can wave your hand and pay at the music festival. When you have a terabyte chain file, you can't run that locally. Now, incidentally, the Epic chain file today, okay, we talked about how Bitcoin Core is 420 gigs and Monero would be multiple terabytes due to low use. I think it's about 100 gigs. So that gives you an idea of, what's going on there in terms of usage. It does have a lot of use, but it pales in comparison to BTC, or else the chain file would be multiple terabytes. Instead, it's only 100 gigs. So whether you're talking hundreds of gigs or terabytes, that now you get to Epic. The last I checked, our chain file was 3 gigs.
Right. Right.
Now, what 3 gigs means is that crappy old phones from 5 years ago can run a full node. You can put an Epic full node on a pregnancy test.
Right. Right.
Yeah, like 25 cents of silicon. And so it's not going to happen overnight, but that means that there's all kinds of devices, all kinds of new use cases, all kinds of possibilities.
Sure.
And when you're running your own local node, that means you don't have to trust anybody. So if I'm a Monero user and I'm not running my node, I have to connect to another node. Now, whose node do I connect to? How do I find that node to connect to?
Yep.
When I do, is somebody watching me? Are they feeding me the right data? There's an element of
someone.
Well, there's an element of trust. There's an element of permission. There's an element of friction, of coordination, and a loss of borderlessness. Because if I'm in China and the government doesn't want me connecting to Monero, then they have means to make that more difficult. Now I can do VPN. I can spend 20 minutes trying to mess around with it and get around it. Sure, but it's not nearly as simple as I fire up the software, I download the chain file, and we're good to go. Now, Mimblewimble also operates differently. Bitcoin Core, Ethereum, Monero, all these other networks require to run a full node. You have to have all of the data, all the chain file, all the transactions. Whereas in Epic, you can operate just on the latest. Like once you start getting the latest blocks, you can get to work and then fill in the rest later. Imagine just having to download the last part, like the last 10 minutes of the movie or the first 10 minutes of the movie to start watching it versus having to download the whole thing and play. So there's experience differences there around startup and bootstrapping and getting started. These are all decisions that go into why we chose the particular mix of technology approaches that we did.
Yeah.
Max, I have a quick question. How will the chain size of Epic grow as the number of transactions increase? Say we're doing, a billion transactions a day. How do you see the chain size developing there?
So the beautiful part about Mimblewimble, I mean, there's many beautiful parts, but one of them is this this notion of cut through. And so essentially in every block, it nets out the offsetting transactions. If you're a database geek, you may be familiar with this idea of updating just the changes versus updating the whole thing. It's a much more efficient approach. So thanks to cut through, the Epic blockchain canon does shrink depending on how people use it. Yoga sent me something from explorer.epic.tech the other day where he was like, whoa, somebody just pushed through 20,000 outputs onto a single transaction. So we can't see who it is. We can't see how many coins it is. We can't see really much of anything. But there was a little blip of data that came through where somebody that had, in a single transaction, they consolidated 20,000 outputs, which is where UTXO blockchain, unspent transaction outputs. 20,000 got compressed down to 1 in that transaction. So I don't know what that means in disk space, but right now we're about 3 gigs. Our analysis indicates that at BTC level usage, it would be about 25 to maybe 50 gigs. Uncompressed, there's some other tricks that we know how to do to compress it further. So we're about 90% better at BTC level usage. Now, if you get into billions of users a day, then becomes, okay, how often are people spending? How many whales are there? How many smaller guys? Is it a zillion micro payments for 0.00001, or is it somebody that bought 10,000 coins and stuck them in a gold storage and they never move? So I think at the singularity, we think the capacity at a 128 megabyte block with 10-second block time that yields 1.1 billion transactions a day. I don't think we're more than 100 gigs at that point. I mean, I really don't. And the thing is that that's 6 years from now. So if you plot the rate of data storage innovation and advancement of the tech, like the hardware gets better at a faster rate than our need to store data. So it essentially never becomes a problem. And Satoshi actually talks about this in the white paper, interestingly enough. He didn't have access to 2019 tech, but he talked about pruning and saving data and stuff like this. What happened is in 2014, Bitcoin Core got compromised, taken over through banking interests through Blockstream, and they basically froze it in time by manipulating the ignorance of people's economic understandings around scarcity and immutability. And what does immutable mean? Oh, well, let's keep the same settings as when the system started, even though technology moves on. Okay, well, nice trick. That's a rug pull.
So, Enrique, you have a great financial mind. Can you please just go through a little analysis real quick of Epic, our blockchain, our market cap, and relate it to XMR's market cap currently? And let's just do that analysis that I know you can do in your sleep, to where if what would have to happen to the price of XMR to 2x our money, and what would have to happen to the price of Epic to 10x our money?
Oh, I mean, it's our market cap is under 10 million right now. I think it's 7 or 8 million. So in order to double our market cap, I mean, you would need probably less than $5 million to do that. Whereas in Monero, I'm not sure what their market cap is right now, but it's 2.7 billion according to CoinGecko. So you would need something of that magnitude to double the price. So when you compare Epic and Monero, when $2 billion go into Epic, I mean, how far will that take the price up over time? It'll probably be in the thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, whereas in Monero, it's pretty much,
well, sorry to interrupt, McMurphy, but we actually did that analysis, didn't we? So the EDH fund is coming together, and it can take $1 billion in its initial structure, 2,000 investors, excuse me, at 500,000 apiece.
That's right.
And we did an analysis of the first 200 million of that. As it comes in, it takes our market cap to 3.4 billion. Yeah. So a couple hundred investors have the power to take our market cap to 3.4 billion, and they will make $1 billion for themselves along the way. That's the power of scarcity.
Okay, so we've been keeping this under wraps. Can you just unpack what you just said, what it is that we're working on that required you to actually go through that very specific analysis?
Yeah, so institutions that want to buy into Epic today have a very difficult time of making that happen. Just if you think about the process, let's say a wealthy family that is looking at Executive Order 14067, and they go, oh, wait, our ice cube is melting. We don't want money that will expire. In China, they just turned on the capability where your money expires if you don't use it. The whole idea of CBDC is that it's money with restrictions. Today we have unrestricted money. And so if you want to escape that, how do you get that $1 million into Epic? Okay, well, first I have to obtain BTC. How do I obtain BTC? I have to go to Coinbase, give them 14 points of information, turn my head and cough, wait 2 weeks, scan my face, give them a DNA sample. I mean, there's all this friction and nonsense. And then when you get it, when you get the BTC, you have to figure out how to send it to Vitex. Okay, let me move it from Exchange Wallet to let me move it from Exchange Wallet to Trading Wallet. What's that little gray button again? So now they're in the help desk and they're figuring it out. Meanwhile, these people have jobs to do, and Epic wouldn't be their only investment. Maybe not a wealthy family because they would have the motivation and interest and ability, but let's say an insurance company, a teacher's pension fund, any type of institution that wants to protect its capital. So they have to go to Vitex. They have to figure out how to get their BTC from the exchange wallet to the trading wallet. They have to go figure out how to chomp the asks in the buy book. Okay, now I'm going to transfer my Epic from the trading wallet back to exchange wallet. Now I'm going to do a cross-chain withdrawal to my desktop GUI. Have I backed up my seed words? Oh, self-custody. What if my device is compromised? I lost all my money. Oh, okay, that sounds really scary. Too much headache. I guess this crypto stuff is not for me. Or with EDH fund, they have a compliant on or offshore, either through Wyoming or British Virgin Islands, offshore investors from places that don't want to entangle with the US, or certain types of US retirement accounts need to go offshore through British Virgin Islands. This is typically how these things are done. So the EDH fund will enable people that have 500,000 or more to simply fill out some forms that are required for compliance reasons that they are totally willing and able and do on a daily basis and have done for decades because they're completely standard. They send a wire transfer to the EDH fund, which then goes and takes care of all that messy hassle to go buy as many coins as possible for them. And then they stick them in secure custody with either copper or fire blocks. And you know for sure that they are not going to get compromised and lose your value. Oops, my hard drive crashed and now my coins are gone. And so that easy button for large amounts of money to come in is provided as a service on a for-profit basis through the EDH fund. The standard for the industry is what's known as 2 and 20, which is a 2% annual maintenance fee to keep the lights on of the fund and provide, you know, a Maserati for the guy that runs it normally, and analysts and all fancy letterhead and stuff like that. And then the big bite is 20% of the gains, so 2 and 20. Now the EDH fund, because it's just basically a passive cap weighted tracker that all it does is buy coins for clients and stick them in cold storage, and it has a much lower operating cost model. It only charges 1 and 10. So for essentially a 1% bite per year, and then 10% when they sell, all of that messy nonsense of getting fiat into Epic and out again, and all the forms, all the regulations, all the lawyers, all the auditing, all that stuff is handled, and it's done in secure property rights jurisdictions such as the United States and BVI. So that's the EDH fund in a nutshell.
So you just said something that made my quarter red flag raise. You said we'll stick it in copper or fire blocks. To me, what you just said is we need to stick it somewhere where I have to trust that they're going to hold it.
Yes, that's a feature for these people rather than a bug, because most people lose their coins through their own failures. Protecting your keys is hard.
What if copper or fire blocks gets compromised?
Well, then the entire digital asset industry has a very bad day.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, how would you store digital assets if you're talking about a group of, 20 investors? Who holds the keys? Who does what? Who has access to what? So it simplifies that process for these types of more complicated organizations.
Okay.
Would you require 5 of 9 signers to come together to move the funds? Would that be enough? Would you need all 20 to sign? What if 3 of them die? If there's any legal entanglements, stuff like that. Institutional investors have completely different needs than us individuals. And so EDH fund is for institutions first and foremost, and ultra high net worth investors second.
And by being able to provide that, then, which, is there any other crypto project out there that allows this? That's probably
so there's 1,000 digital asset hedge funds, and all of them provide this type of stuff, but precisely 0 of them offer Epic.
Exactly.
And they're out there charging 2 and 20 for the most part.
Yep.
So this is like the, like, do you remember mutual funds when there used to be actively managed funds, Peter Lynch and the Fidelity Magellan Fund, and I'm going to go pick these stocks better than the other guy. Yeah. And then over time, people realized that nobody was a good enough stock picker to outweigh a passive index strategy, and firms like Vanguard became the titans by offering index vehicles and lower cost ways to get the exposure we need. So we're just following in the footsteps of decades of established practice and tradition.
But when that happens, when this is set up, and can you give me a sense as to the market that's out there who would be really intrigued and open to come with a $500,000 check? And why?
So anyone that has a lot of fiat that is looking at the end of an era and like, do I want to only be able to spend my money on crickets and cockroaches, or do I want to be able to buy whatever I want? That would be potentially very interesting for them. I have been contacted within the past week by not one but several billion-dollar plus people that are slowly waking up to the fact that they have a big problem, and they're saying, what do I do? There's one guy that has a deca billionaire, obviously not at liberty to mention who it is, but he said, I want to go buy $1 billion worth of BTC. Can you help me? And here's my bank account statement with 974 million in it. And I said, okay, let me check. And so I go and send some messages out to my network. Can you fill $1 billion of BTC? Sure. Here's what we need. And you have this like zillion point proctology exam on who are you, where did you get your money, we want audited financials, we want this and this and that, and it's like, wait a minute, I can't just go buy $1 billion worth of BTC. And also it was a bit of a shock. You want virgin coins that have not been through the system because you fear political retaliation and people being able to deny you the spending of them, same like CBDC type stuff. Well, guess what? If you want to buy virgin BTC, it costs anywhere between 10 and 35% over spot. So imagine, like, normally you buy more, you get a cheaper price. In this market, because of all that friction, if anybody will even take your money, it's a question of like, all right, BTC is 20 grand today. What are you paying? 24, 27, something like that?
So you're a nice guy, and you said, okay, let me see if I can fill the BTC for you, because you're a nice guy. What the hell does that have? How's that going to positively impact Epic?
Because once somebody buys $1 billion worth of BTC and I just help them, well, I hate to break it to you, bud, but let me tell you what you should have bought with that. Yeah, well, would you like me to show you how to set up a wallet and go buy, if you take 100 million of that BTC and go buy Epic, he's going to have tens of billions of dollars off the Epic side. So, I'm not only a nice guy, but also that would be very helpful for us. So to help someone into the crypto universe through BTC is just one additional hop to get them into our boat.
What would, I just a thought experiment here. What would if that dude said, okay, I'm in for 10%, what would that 10%, that $100 million, what would that take the Epic price to?
Well, McMurphy, you may have a different opinion on this, but I think it would probably take us to parity with BTC on a per coin basis.
What do you think? I think we'd be in the hundreds, maybe $1,000 range with $100 million, but these are estimates, so
it depends.
It's really difficult. It depends on. I mean, it depends.
It's going to bring sellers out of the woodwork.
I mean, it would definitely dry up all the sellers. There'd be, of course, substantial selling, but at one point you're gonna say, no, hell no, I'm not selling any more coins right now.
Well, and if we go up 1,000% in a day or 10,000% in a month or something like that,
what do people do there?
Well, you're gonna sell some, sure, but are you gonna rush to sell everything?
No.
Because like it looks like, I've been mining this thing for years. I've been buying this thing for years. I've been waiting all this time. I've been a believer. I put my money where my mouth is. Looks like we're finally here. Am I gonna go sell everything right away, or am I gonna wait another couple days and see how it plays out? Maybe I'll sell 10% of my holdings into the market, which gets my cost out 10x anyway, and I pay off all my debts, and now I'm suddenly rich and I still have most of my coins. It changes the behavior of the sellers, because let's say he decides to put that money in over the course of a year to not disturb the markets. Okay, when you do, the network is dripping out 5,760 coins a day, but then next June, 2,880. So, and remember, he's not the only guy that suddenly had this aha moment that is looking to buy in. He's just the first one.
So that's from a trading perspective. You also have to take into account what's going on, politically, what's going on with censorship, CBDCs, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So I just figured out, once the next halving happens, that's only just over 1 million coins for the whole year of new, fresh Epic.
Yep. Which at today's price is only $500,000.
Yeah.
And we're talking about 100 million coming in from one guy.
Jesus.
Yeah. And
that's one guy putting in 1% of his net worth.
Yeah. And what you asked a little while ago, Uncle, about who would be interested, according to a study from PwC and the Alternative Investment Management Association, at the end of 2021, 38% of traditional hedge funds said that they were investing in digital assets. And so that's substantially higher than the year before, which was like 20%.
Right.
So there is interest. And I mean, cryptocurrencies are the future. So there's no doubt that there's a demand.
85% of American business surveyed said that they intend to accept crypto payments in 2023. 85%.
Yeah.
Wow.
The demand is there. And that's why Freeman Express is so important. That's the other thing coming. Yeah. People will be able to spend their Epic value in stores through Freeman Express in October. We're looking at March for having gift cards in stores. So imagine walking up to the grocery store and handing $100 to the cashier, and you scratch off a code and download, the app to your wallet, and you have coins right away instead of waiting 2 weeks with Coinbase and the proctology exam. So whether it's 6 months away in the case of gift cards, or the sub 60 days in the case of Freeman Express, we're getting that last mile link We've drawn the backhaul long range fiber from city to city, and now we need to go and stitch it into the individual neighborhoods and apartment buildings. If you look at the network rollout in terms of an infrastructure build of, for example, fiber optic, as we've seen the growth of the internet, there are some parallels. So at the same time, the scarcity is coming into play. The interest is going up, awareness is going up, ease of use is going up, and also utility. Today, you can't do much with your Epic except hold it and send it to somebody else. Now you can do that on mobile, that's great. But when you can swap it with other chains, when you can spend it in stores, when you can borrow against it using the Bank of Me and Freeman Express using EUSD, the possibilities really explode. And so when I said, what does 100 million take us to? And McMurphy said thousands, and I said maybe parity with BTC. Remember that BTC is the Bitcoin song of 21 million coming out at a certain rate, 20.3 million in summer of 2028 at the singularity. There's 19 million coins at the network level, but there's as many as 50 million when you include paper coins and IOUs and fractional reserve. So 50,000 or 50 million times 20,000. Epic only has a supply of 15 million, and there's no nonsense out there. There's no paper coins, and there's not going to be. I mean, maybe a little bit here and there, but it's going to be absolutely minimal rather than this giant overhang. So if each one of the prior versions of this song on a CD-ROM disk are 20,000, and there's 50 million times 20,000, and there's only 15 million of us, and there's only going to be 16 million next summer, and it takes 6 years to get up to 20 million. I mean, the supply of BTC would probably be like 100 million by that time, or even more. I mean, paper gold markets trade like thousands of times actual mining supply. You don't even need the actual blockchain anymore. At some point, it might make sense to go to proof of stake just to eliminate the electricity spend. Did you know? I didn't know.
There's an initiative, right?
Yeah, exactly, and it's had some surprising supporters. I think Ripple, and certainly the environmental lobby, the government folks, the ESG Kool-Aid drinkers. So get this, the number of SHA-256 ASICs that were sold in 2021 is about between 1.5 and 2 million. And each of these things cost between like $3,000 to $10,000. So if you do the math on that, it requires, what is that, McMurphy? You're better at math. Is that 10 plus billion in capital expenditure?
Or if each cost 10,000, and how many were sold?
Well, let's say it's more like 5,000, just to make the math easy. Let's say it's 2 million units at 5,000. What is that? 10 billion?
Yeah, 10 billion.
Okay, so to support a $400 million market cap,
it's 100 billion.
100 billion.
5,000. Okay, yep.
That sounds too much. I might be off by a zero, but regardless, let's say that it costs 10 billion in capex. Let's just be super conservative. Let's say it costs 10 billion in capex to pump out those ASICs to convert enough energy into hash rate to secure the network. Who is going to pay that $10 billion 2 years from now when the price of BTC, if it's not more than $69,000? Like the business case for creating the ASICs doesn't pencil out. And if you don't keep investing in the ASICs, then you don't know if somebody's spent that money and created a warehouse full of ASICs that do it 10 times faster using 3 nanometer chips or whatever to mine in secret, and then boom, whip out your longer chain and you mess with the market. You can kill the BTC network for a surprisingly low amount of money, all kinds of ways. And it's got lots of vulnerabilities. And of course, Epic doesn't have that. Why? Because of polyphasic proof of work and eliminating that ASIC bottleneck in the system. So I think at some point, if BTC is to survive, it may want to or have to go to proof of stake, because otherwise, like, you won't be able to rely on that energy-based security that the network was originally founded on.
Well, I would like to dedicate this next comment to Joey from Twitter, my new best friend from XMR. And I just want to let you know that 1,000 Epic right now would cost you $500. Okay. So that 1,000 Epic, if you just heard what Max was saying, and he is in conversations with this Deca billionaire who could take 1% of his net worth and invest 100 million into the Epic blockchain with Max's help. So he'll have some amazing hand holding, right? Your 1,000 coins, if what Max just said, that would get us to parity with BTC, that becomes $200 million based on my math. I'm not the financial wizard, but can you gut check me on that, El McMurphy? $1,000 times 20,000, or 1,000 coins times 20,000.
Let me get my
20 million.
calculator, make sure.
20 million.
20 million.
So it doesn't take much, everyone. I mean, it really doesn't.
And-
now, what you have to do is we believe our own bullshit, right? And what we spew, you may deem as bullshit, but I have 500 hours plus, Joey, of coverage on Epic Cash. And I just really encourage you that, look, forget going to the grocery store every week and buying $5-10 worth of lottery tickets. Just get 1,000 coins. Just get 1,000 coins. And if this madman, Max Freeman is right, and we're able to actually help this guy protect his future wealth, what that might do for those 1,000 coins. And that goes for everybody that's watching this. It does not take much. You don't have to be a whale and have 100,000 coins, right?
Yeah, Uncle, with one thing I don't get over is the tainted coin threat that BTC faces.
That's right.
To me, that is the largest threat, more than even the rest of the threats that, Max just mentioned a little while ago. One classic example, which is not the only one, is Do Kwon's BTC. There was a news that he transferred. Yeah, I mean, or Do Kwon, I don't know how you pronounce it. He transferred, they say, 3,313 BTC after his Interpol, search order or red alert came out. And it's not only those coins that people need to worry about. I mean, he sold coins. LFG sold close to 80,000 coins. Who's involved with what? I mean, are those coins going to be tainted? Who decides that?
Right.
Is it wise to spend it, to send it to someone? I mean, it's just a huge mess. And that is a way that
if you buy stolen property, even unknowingly, that doesn't absolve you of responsibility. And if you get tied up in fraud and the assets get frozen, when you're dealing with a non-fungible asset, you really are taking a risk, and you're taking not just a risk, but you're taking a potentially unlimited set of unknowable risks. Because what is a tainted coin? Who is deciding what is tainted? How tainted is it? A little taint, a lot of taint? Is this, a little iffy, but we're going to take it? It's entirely arbitrary.
Yeah. You can untaint it, and then it can be tainted again. Depends on, on who you are and what jurisdiction you're in. There's a lot of complicated legal matters surrounding this.
I can tell you, for me, I tain't buying any more BTC. Hey,
why don't we do some shout outs?
Hey, wait. No, before we do, this just hit me. The dev that created Tornado Cash, how he got arrested, right? What would stop the Druid Babylonian bastards from finding the folks who created XMR? Because isn't that in that obfuscation process really kind of doing the same thing as Tornado Cash, just mixing it up? or am I overthinking it here? I mean, is that a risk for Monero?
You mean as are the software developers of Monero going to face consequences
Why not?
like the guy who created Tornado
Yeah.
Cash? I mean, they absolutely could. We could. Anybody could. I mean, it's entirely arbitrary. So what he did nothing wrong.
No, he didn't.
Like I mean, so if we're in an environment where what you do doesn't matter because the people
It's
that
true.
are enforcing will just do whatever the hell they want, then all bets are off.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I've noticed a trend of developers erasing their GitHub and pulling their code off and saying, I'm not having anything to do with this. So it has definitely had a chilling effect on people that create technology that others might want to crack down on. Yeah, is that going to be a big deal, or is it a little problem? I have no idea, but it's there, and that's another reason why Epic is, as we always say, Epic is not a quote privacy coin. It's a coin that happens to have privacy. And by us focusing on, okay, 1 billion transactions a day, that's a lot of bake sales, lemonade stands, micro payments for gaming and streaming and cell phone top ups and stuff. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. I think the reason, my read is that the reason that Tornado Cash was targeted as it was is because in actual practice, the overwhelming majority of use of Tornado Cash was to launder stolen funds. And that was very traceable through the blockchain. So it's easy to argue the only reason that you made that is to facilitate this type of crime. Now, whether you made it to facilitate crime or not, it can be argued because the predominant usage is crime. So let's say we're at 1 billion transactions a day and 1 million people are doing unsavory things. Okay, well, a million out of 1 billion, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And you certainly can't argue that the whole purpose of the tool was created to facilitate those million, because you're ignoring the 999 million other things that weren't objectionable. Incidentally, according to the U.S. government's own figures, substantially less than 1% of all cryptocurrency transactions are even conceivably illicit, because if it's going from Gemini to Coinbase, as an example, it's subject to all the KYC and AML and blah, blah, blah. So you know that that is likely legitimate or high probability. So much is made of a very small aspect of the market. But when you get into something like a Monero or a pirate chain where you're saying, neener, Johnny Law, that you can't get me. This is decentralized and I'm anonymous hiding behind my keyboard here. Okay, good luck with that.
Hey, Max, let's end with, we talk a lot about people getting their oars wet. They acquire some Epic and then they decide to start rowing with the team and adding value. And I am just continually astonished looking in all of our different channels of not just, some new fresh blood, if you will, or energy, but all of the usual suspects that are out there. And you guys know who I'm talking about. But Max, from a dev side, it seems like there's been a handful that have just been rock stars lately. Do you want to just,
Yeah, more than a handful. I have a whole list here. So we'll start with the technical folks. There's been a huge amount of activity in Epicenter Labs. People are working together great. So thank you, Sky King, Toon Swan, Richard, Black Tiger, Pool Boy. Also the Stack Wallet team, Lexa, Dan Miller, Diego. There is a huge amount of activity happening to stitch the various parts of our ecosystem together. So for example, to get the Stack Wallet to talk to Veet and to remove this point of friction and make it easier over here. When you're building in an open source context, everything can move very fast because you don't have any barriers to participation and more people coming in and free flow of information. So thank you for that. Also, there's some heroes on the help desk that are in there supporting users. There's 560 people in t.me/Epic Cash help desk. And so if you have any kind of problem, people like Poolboy, Dennis, Thomas Freeman, Robert from Fast Epic will be in there to help you. So thank you for that. Levy in Freeman U has been putting a lot of time into learning. He's become something of an expert in privacy tech by hanging out in the Hush chats and learning in Freeman U. So thank you, Levy. Ryan Comiskey and Jessica Chaplin are doing amazing stuff. Raman in India, if you want to help drive Epic forward, please support Raman in India. Send him $1 worth of coins, send him $10, $100, whatever you can afford, because he is translating all of our stuff, leading with his chin rather than his handout. He does have donations up, but has gone and done a lot of work out of his own pocket to find local translators for languages such as Assamese, Bengali, Hindi, Punjabi, Tamil, and Telugu. India has 1.4 billion population. It has 30 million current crypto users. And Freeman Express is going to be able to serve as that last mile link as one of the 162 countries that Indians or that people can use. So great job, Raman. Moving on, Islo, of course, as always, Jam and Merrick's Gaming are doing amazing stuff in the Philippines. So shout out to #Epic63. Alan Trades doesn't jump up and scream, but is an amazing behind the scenes contributor. He's one of those walk softly and carry a big stick type of guys. So we see you. Thank you, Alan Trades. LW, Joshua Freeman, Masaran Duba, I may be pronouncing that. Tillman continues to write amazing articles. Robin P from Miami, so thank you. And also Alexander Mitchell from Shift Markets, Dustin Cantor from Podtext, working on the DNA of Bitcoin podcast. We have some major guests coming up. I can't believe we got who we got. I'm not going to say who it is, but oh my God, buckle up. Mother Trucker, Scythius out in Czech Republic, and Atta Freeman in Austria. And I'm sure I've missed a lot, but that's who popped up on my radar recently. Who do you guys think is a star that we should thank?
Well, I've just been a big fan of everything that I've seen from Sky King, and what Jam has done with Let's Talk Epic Cash, and even adding to it now, talking to some folks who have been around a while just to get to know them better on a different segment. Of course, Mother Trucker, Levy, Islo. It's just the usual suspects. You guys know who you are. You're always in there, and your aura is always wet. And that's what makes this project so special. Hold on, I'm not gonna take that. Jeepers creepers. You ever have that phone call from somebody who you haven't talked to forever, and you just are so glad you haven't talked to them forever? And he just came up, and I'm like, no way am I ever going to talk to you again in my life. So go away. sorry. But so I started this off talking to you, Joey, and I just want to end by speaking with you, Joey, from XMR, that you are welcome in our community. I would love to have a personal conversation with you that's not on air, that's not recorded, to talk about, what else, what other insights could I provide you? But I just, have a whole lot of documented work over the last 2 years on Epic Cash. And you sound to me like, your interest is piqued. I just suggest peek a little bit more. Peek, under the covers. There's a great series called The Quest for Superior Money. And if you go and you watch that whole 16-hour series, You'll be smarter than 99.99% of the people out there in crypto, I promise. But welcome, and please come into t.me/Epic Cash. Sounds to me like you're interested in trading. We can point you in all the right directions. If you like mining, we can point you there. Bottom line is, we just have a lot of people in this community who are working together, arm in arm. And if you haven't, gotten it from Max by listening today, there are some really big major things happening. And I don't know any other projects out there that have the kind of development we have going on. And by the way, Max, did I hear a rumor that perhaps Trillions, the first couple of episodes, may be funded?
No comment.
Okay. Okay. All right. I didn't ask. So there. All right. So unless you guys have anything, everybody in the chat, thanks for being patient while the hurricane kind of disrupted my schedule this week. But we'll look forward to seeing all of you on next Wednesday at noon with Max and Todd, Lewis, and then of course next Friday as well. So have a great weekend. And if you are in the path of that hurricane still, be smart, be safe, and walk your dogs before the rain starts. I have 3. It was kind of nasty. All right. Max, do you have anything? El McMurphy, anything?
Just as always, we need people to help. So if you can get involved in any way and want to get your ore wet, reach out to me or any of the admins, and we'll find something. Everybody can help in some way. The only thing, even without Deca billionaires coming in, the only thing standing in the way of us becoming $1,000 a coin, or pick a number, is the amount of effort that we put into it. So as I always do, turn the mirror on yourself and ask, what am I doing to make the value of my holdings go up? And if we all do that, then we'll get there a lot faster than we can imagine.
And for people who have any doubts, just keep watching what's going on in the markets from a legal standpoint, and it'll become clear why Epic is the choice moving forward.
Yeah. Indeed. Chomp, chomp, MFing chomp. I saw that. Tom, you are right. This is the time to be chomping in Vite. So go for it. All right, everyone. Have a great weekend. Till next time. Cheers.